Most companies have all these departments: engineering, process or manufacturing, operations if you call it, maintenance. They'll have finance, procurement, materials, and human resources in support roles to them. But they don't always operate as a team, even though combined that they deliver one result for the business. They tend to work in isolated silos. And when was the last time your finance people actually took a look in a maintenance shop? When was the last time your human resources people got out of their offices and actually looked at what was happening in the storeroom? So they tend to work in isolation of each other. They don't really understand what the others do. And our education and our training tends to keep us that way. They have different objectives and goals. Hopefully, they align to the corporate strategy. They have separate processes. Some of those processes may be entirely internal, like how do you get quotes for a part in materials management? Maintenance doesn't really care. All they want is a part quickly. Okay, but other processes, like the actual issue of spares to the maintenance activity, require cooperation with maintenance. They can't issue the spares if they don't know what spares are required. That's planning. They can't deliver them on time for the job if they don't know when the job's going to take place. That's scheduling. Rarely do processes work smoothly across the departmental boundaries. In fact, most processes don't break down on the desks of the people doing the individual steps. They break down between the steps. And it's especially sensitive to breakdown if it's between departments. Sometimes departments even behave like the other departments are an inconvenience to them. You know, I've often heard salespeople talk about how easy their job would be if it wasn't for the customers that couldn't make decisions. Well, maintenance. Wouldn't it be wonderful if the operators didn't break their equipment? You're treating the operations people like there's something to be scorned. And yet they're, in a sense, your customer. But they're also your team worker when you think of basic care, because the better they look after the equipment, the less breakdowns it will have. Operations tends to look at maintenance as you're the guys that fix it when we break it. Again, it's kind of a demeaning way of looking at it. You're the servants, we're the masters. So departments often tend to behave rather badly. Not a good team environment. We depend on physical assets for just about everything in our modern day life. And these pictures that are on the screen show you just some examples. Paper machines or printing presses that deliver our newspapers and make paper that we get our paychecks on. Electricity that we run on. Fleets of vehicles, like your haul trucks, for example. Gas and oil delivering, those precious commodities that we use every day. Our roads, just to get around. You can't get to work without them. They're central to what every company does and delivers. In mining, we are very asset intensive. You've got large fleets of vehicles. You've got plants to process the equipment. They're working in dirty, dusty, harsh environments. If you're in Canada, up in Fort McMurray, for example, you've got warm summers, cold, really cold winters. The equipment goes through tremendous extremes. If you're in the Andes down in Chile or Peru, you're at high altitudes. Engine fuel consumption, the way the engines run is different. Your fuel mixtures are different because of that. Some of us operate in long haul conditions. Some are very short. Some are underground. Some are open pit. Some are surface. All of these environments are very harsh. They're hard on equipment. Maintenance makes up typically up to as high as 50% of your operating costs, not including the fuel. It's a huge cost to the business. There's a huge opportunity there. It's up to us to manage them effectively. Now, asset management, I'm going to talk about here a little bit. It's all about managing that asset through its entire life cycle. Now, I've got a definition here. It's the systematic and coordinated activities and practices to which an organization optimally and sustainably manages its assets and asset systems, their performance, risks, and costs over their life cycles. Purpose of that is to achieve an organizational strategic plan. Now, your assets are mines, the equipment that's in them, the vehicles, the plants, the tooling in your shop is an asset for the business. Now, managing those through their life cycle involves much more than just maintenance. Maintenance is a part of the picture. It's a big part of the picture, and it's a big part of the cost. But a haul truck that might cost a couple of $1 million is going to easily cost a lot more in maintenance costs over its life cycle. We want to manage all of that in an optimal way, which means smoothly, inexpensively, delivering the results we want, okay, the production levels we want. We don't want to go beyond what we're designed for, at least not too far beyond, because we will damage the equipment and drive our costs up. Increased number of failures means that our production goes down and our revenues go down. So we want to make sure that we've operated, maintained, designed, we've got the right equipment in the right place, suitable for the job, right? I'm sure in your operations you've seen equipment that was ill-suited to the job. Why is that? Many design engineers are not that experienced. They might be working on a team with a senior designer, but a lot of the grunt work of design is done by more junior engineers who don't have the experience that you have in the field. So we want to manage all of that effectively, all the way through to disposal of the asset. This shows how our physical assets interface with the rest of the business. We need human assets in order to work on the physical assets, and indeed the physical assets can impact the people. Information. Companies run on information today. We generate information as we're managing maintenance and as we design and put in place new assets. We have to get rid of that information when we get rid of the asset. So information is linked to our physical assets as well. In fact, the systems we use to manage maintenance and materials are information management systems. Physical assets also impact on the company's image, and a perfect example of that these days, or a bit of an easy target, is BP in the Gulf of Mexico. Look at the mess that company is in because of failure of physical assets. Blowout preventers that did not work, backups that did not work, operators that did not pay attention to the early warning signs. So the physical assets in those cases, because of a lack of management, and sadly that company has a bit of a history of that when it comes to their physical assets, has really damaged their reputation. We're now hearing more about what happened at BP in Texas City a few years ago. And physical assets also have a huge interface with your financial world. In fact, it's the assets that form part of your company's balance sheet. There will be a depreciated value there, but they also have a huge draw on cost. And if they're working, they generate revenues. That's what we deliver. We deliver the ability to make revenue for our company. So asset management is about getting all of this working really well. We manage this stuff in the middle, and we interface with all these other aspects of the business. There is a specification that came out of Britain called PAS 55. It's publicly available specification number 55. And it describes a system for managing assets, an asset management system. And it basically puts in place, like Uptime, a framework for that broad whole life cycle management model. Very well worth looking into for your businesses. And you'll see that Uptime fits in it. Asset management impacts on a great deal of what the company does and what it delivers. If it's done well, we get excellent quality, not just compliance with a quality program. You may have seen companies that have the ISO 9001 certification posted someplace prominently usually. It's great marketing, but do they actually produce quality products? You know, if I look at companies and compare quality of vehicles just a few years ago between, say, Toyota and say some of the North American producers. The quality levels in North America were good. The quality levels from Toyota were better. They all had the same ISO 9001 certification. So compliance to the quality program didn't make the quality. There was more to it than that.